Hello everyone, welcome to CineD. I'm Ehlers Sheldon. I remember back in early 2014 hearing about the train accident that led to the death of camera assistant Sarah Jones and other injuries on the set of a film called Midnight Rider, being directed at the time by Randall Miller. That horrible event rippled through my industry, film and TV, and across camera departments. And I do think, though, that we ultimately have a safer set culture because of it, thanks in no small part to Richard Jones, Sarah's father, who has been a big part of that focus on safety. Here's my discussion with Richard Jones, where we discuss his nonprofit, the makers of Midnight Rider attempting to make another film in California, the shooting on the film Rust, and how set culture has changed over the last 10 years.
You're watching CineD, supported by B&H and CVP.
Richard Jones, thank you so much for joining us here on the channel. I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm sure it doesn't get any easier, over 10 years later now.
Well, thank you, Graham, for having me. And yes, it gets different, but as anyone that has lost a loved one knows, it never leaves you. It's just one of those. It's an odd thing that it can seem 10 years ago, but then in a fraction of a second, it can be right in your stomach, like it happened just now. So, and that's kind of the nature of living and dying.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there one thing about Sarah that maybe you can tell us that people might not know?
Wow. I'll tell you a brief story. When she was, I think, 3 years old, she was doing a Halloween thing, and she had a bag of candy, and I asked her not to eat the candy yet, and she ate a piece, and so and to discipline her, I said, well, either you're going to have to give up your candy or you're going to get a spanking. And as soon as I said it, I said, you just messed up bad. And anyway, so she chose to give up candy. She just, it's this little 3-year-old hands out candy to me. I'm going, you should. Because I wasn't really going to spank her. Anyway, so at that moment, the determination in that little 3-year-old's eyes, it just said, you don't mess with this little girl or woman. As it turns out, she had a very, very strong will. And incidentally, she hardly remembers that, but I'm still getting therapy over it.
I mean, I can see that determination in the photos that you sent me of her, Richard. Well, I want to move to your nonprofit. It's called Safety for Sarah. And I saw these words. They're directly on the website. And I'm going to quote now from the website. Quote, Safety for Sarah has come to represent not only the tragedy of that day, but all those in the film industry to create safer film sets, end quote. Can you tell me a little bit more about your nonprofit and how we can help your mission?
Shortly after Sarah died, people in the industry approached Elizabeth, Sarah's mother, and I, and asked us what they expressed it. They had concerns, safety concerns in the industry, and they weren't being heard, and the concerns were not being addressed. And since we had somewhat of an audience because of the news event of Sarah's death, the tragedy, we agreed. That's when we formed the nonprofit Safety for Sarah, and to try to make sets safer.
The thing that I think most people saw initially was, Sarah's name being added to slates, clappers, that we use to sync audio and video together on set. Still to this day, over 10 years later, I still see those messages. But that's not the only thing the nonprofit has been a part of. You also have a end credits initiative. Can you tell me a little bit more about that specifically?
We encourage films to, if they follow basically a set of rules, that to post the logo for Safety for Sarah is basically a slate, a clapper. We just encourage them to include that. We have a number of things that we do for the nonprofit, the foundation. That's one of them. We provide another one is we provide funds to film schools so that the film students can afford to purchase safety items, or let's say if they're doing their film project on the street, to hire an off-duty policeman if needed, to even supply walkie-talkies for safety issues and vests and sorts of things. So we do that. That's another program. We have another one called the Sarah Jones Opportunity and this is one lucky person that is selected. Just this past year, we just selected an individual out of 270 applicants that will go in a camera house for training, and then end up on the set, actually working on the set, and a ticket to this local 600.
So if you're, joining the channel, if you're one of the international viewers of this, Local 600 is the camera union in the United States. It's part of IATSE. Sarah Jones was a member. So I just want to make sure that you know that. Also, the organizations vary globally that you can speak to about safety issues, but it's been incredible to see Sarah's name go all around the planet. I work with folks in Austria, Japan, the Philippines, and they've all heard the name of Sarah Jones. So that's just a testament to the incredible work that you've been doing, Richard.
It is amazing. I've seen camera crews in Hong Kong and Germany. I've approached them, and they've known Sarah Jones's name. It is amazing.
What did you do before becoming an on-set safety advocate? I'm just curious. What was your day job?
Well, my degree is electrical engineering, and I actually owned a company that turns your street lights on and off at night. And after Sarah passed away, I had the opportunity to sell the company, and afford me. That's kind of my day job. Is actually set safety for Sarah.
How do you feel about just the general state of on-set safety as we're recording this in 2024? Do you think the culture has changed?
Yes, I do believe. I believe that Sarah's death has made a difference. I certainly hear a lot of people, incidences of something that was corrected, where someone said, I don't feel safe, whereas I think before there was, if someone did speak out, they were afraid to, because they might not get a call on the next project. I do hope that Sarah's death and unfortunately the death of others has given people a voice to speak out. If they don't feel safe, say something, and without the fear of not getting that next call for the next project.
Now, I hate to even bring this up, but Randall Miller, who is still on probation for the accident on the set of Midnight Rider, just received a $1.5 million tax credit from the state of California. He's getting around his probation this time because he's a writer. He's not allowed to direct as part of his probation. And the film is expected to shoot in Orange County and San Diego in 2025. And I'm bringing this up because I've seen you've commented in the past and on this most recent news. Is there anything else that you can tell us about what's happening here? Are you keeping up to date still with this kind of news as it comes in?
Kind of drop back just a bit. One thing, Sarah was a very positive individual person and optimistic, and the Safety for Sarah Foundation I'd like to keep it in a positive light where we can. Same time, it's critical, it's important to hold those responsible for her death and for the injury and death of others accountable. And that's where I've held firm for 10 years. And certainly Randall Miller, he messed up. He messed up very badly. And to be clear, there's a chain of events that other people messed up their job as well. But accountability, that's where I stand. And if he accepts what he did wrong and moves forward, I do not wish any ill will on him. At the same time, there is the case of accountability, and I think with what he's demonstrated and exhibited in his over the past 10 years, he has numerous times where he's attempted to get away from it and not really accept the responsibility for what he did. And so with all of that, certainly, particularly with the California tax money being given, I don't think that's right. I think that it should not.
And I mean, you referenced it, but he also directed a film a few years back in Europe as well, and there was some discussion about that, I believe, on the legal side. I want to move to an incredibly unfortunate event, obviously, on the film Rust back in 2021. I remember, hearing about the death of Helena Hutchins and immediately thinking of Sarah. I remember thinking, oh my God, this has happened again. In fact, just today, CNN has reported that the armorer for Rust, her new trial has been denied, so her conviction will be upheld. Do you remember how you reacted to what happened on Rust? Because it's one of the other times in recent memory where this something that happened on set made just national, international news.
I certainly remember the very moment I heard about Helena Hutchins' tragic death, and in a way, kind of reliving what happened to Sarah. It's certainly so many similarities, and it I don't know what to say. It certainly hit hard. And in a way, honestly, I felt sad, but also disappointed that the hopes of what we're doing with Sarah's death is to, well, we say, never forget, never again. Never forget what happened to Sarah Jones when safety was not a priority, and hopefully what we do will keep it from happening again. Well, it did happen with Helena and with others, and it was disappointing that Sarah's death did not save Helena, and with that, I looked at things and what we've got to do a better job. We have to review what we're doing, and we have more work to do.
Do you feel like the studios, do you feel like producers have been receptive to that message, that they understand that, kind of at the end of the day, we're playing, make-believe. This is art. This shouldn't be a life or death thing. Do you feel like the industry, I'm saying more the producer side, do you think they've been receptive to that message?
In large part, yes, I believe so. Certainly, for the most part, the major studios, I've sat down with a lot of executives and president of Warner Brothers, et cetera, and their safety people. And I do really believe that they've at least put a huge effort into making their set safer. They're not perfect at all, but there are certainly, and I hesitate to kind of get into a little bit of the indies might be in the fringe area, but it's probably, I mean, most of the indies as well are doing a pretty good job, and that's certainly, at least they're trying to be safe. Then again, you get, and I see a lot of similarities in the producer side, but in the case of Rusty, I mean, in my view, and this is just my personal view, I'm not an attorney at all, and I don't um, have any particular insight other than just observing what happened there. I think the budget played a part in maybe hiring some people they should not have hired, that were not fully qualified and were put in over their heads.
Well, so I mean, to distill that a little bit, are you sort of saying, in independent films specifically, because the budgets tend to be a little lower versus a classic sort of studio picture, are you kind of saying that those projects you should absolutely continue to pay just as high a level to safety and not cut corners, and understand that even if the money isn't there, there's another way to make that set equally as safe as, say, your average studio picture? Because I know a lot of people that watch and read our channel might be independent filmmakers specifically. So is there a message specifically for the indie guys? I mean, I think you're kind of saying it there.
Absolutely. That's well put. There's no reason why the indies with a limited budget can't accomplish a vision safely. Here again, it might be that, and I'm not a filmmaker, and I don't mean to overreach here, but it might mean that they might have to do a scene differently than they had envisioned. They wanted to do it with a limited budget, but again, it goes back to, there's no reason that they can't accomplish their vision in a safe manner. As you put it, there's no film or television show that's worth a life.
Well, I mean, you touched on this earlier too, but the thing that I've seen as a local 600 director of photography that's changed over the last 10 or so years has been the willingness to be in a big room of arguably, important, with quotes around it, people, potentially your bosses, the willingness to raise your hand, no matter what part of the department that you're in, not just department heads too, because I think department heads are probably the most likely folks to speak up on a film, but further down the ladder, a willingness to speak up if they see something. So, and to me, that's been incredibly gratifying, because you touched on this earlier too, that there was a culture of, well, there's 400 people waiting in the wings to take my job, so I don't want to rock the boat.
Exactly. It's kind of the nature of the beast, the nature of the job is you don't have to be fired. Really, most crew members, you're working a project and it's all temporary. It's all temporary. I mean, hey, maybe you do hit a series that might run 5 years, but that can be rare too, or you just don't get a call back. And as you indicated, there are a lot of young people waiting in line to get your position. So it is tough, but it's a message we preached over and over again. Again, if you don't feel safe, say something. But part of also what we do is we reach out to the older guys in the industry, and we ask them to mentor, and we ask them to, with the younger people around them, tell them, if you don't want to say something, you say something to me, because they're probably not going to fire me because I've been around long enough. But do it that way. Just find a way to express your concern.
That's really great advice. Yeah, talk to somebody a little higher up from you. Maybe they have ASC after their name, maybe they don't, but they have a bunch of movies under their belt potentially, and they're just a little easier to be the one bringing this up. So that's great advice. So we need to wrap up here in another minute, but I want to point people to the Local 600 Safety app, and note that you don't need to be a member of Local 600 to use this app. It's a great method for reporting on-set safety issues. It's easy to download. We'll put a link for it in the description of this video and probably with the corresponding article as well. Richard, last word to you. Anything you think I missed or you want to mention before we wrap it up here?
You mentioned Local 600. I mean, one thing, it's Coach Sarah was a member, and people attending her funeral. I mean, really been with us from when it happened, and we appreciate them as a family, really. And that app it was developed, and it's good. It's evolved, and I absolutely encourage everyone to load it. But I appreciate the time to speak and get our message out. And we're looking to change the culture of an industry to one of safety. And every project, safety should not be an afterthought. It needs to be an integral part of every project from day one.
Well, thank you so much, Richard Jones, for your time, and thank you for helping to make this industry a safer place. We really appreciate it. And also thank you for joining in the aftermath of a hurricane out there in South Carolina, no less.
Thank you, Graham. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for watching. Check out www.safetyforsarah.com if you want to learn more about Richard's organization and how they are helping make film and TV productions safer everywhere. Want to see more videos like this? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, everyone.